The night was silent. The wind moved slowly through the trees, carrying the smell of earth and smoke. Far away, a lonely cry broke the stillness. It was not the cry of an animal. It was not the cry of a human child. It was something different. Something strange and soft, yet filled with pain. In the shadows of the forest, a young alien mother sat on the cold ground. Her skin was pale, her hair long and tangled. Her eyes were wide, glowing faintly in the moonlight. She was holding her baby close, pressing it against her chest. The baby was weak, its breath shallow, its little arms thin like twigs. She whispered to the baby, her voice shaking, "Please, stay with me. Please, little one." But she knew the truth. Her milk had dried up many days ago. Her baby had not eaten, not even a drop, for too long. Every hour the child grew weaker, and she, the mother, was helpless. She looked up at the dark sky. The stars shone above like cold, silent witnesses. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she whispered again, "Someone, anyone, help us." Her body trembled from hunger and fear. She had walked far from her destroyed village. Her people had been scattered, hunted, driven away. Many had died. She carried her child through the nights, hiding from soldiers, hiding from humans, hiding from everything that wanted her kind, gone. Now she had nothing left but this fragile life in her arms. The baby let out a thin, broken cry. It was a sound that cut into the night, a sound full of sorrow. The mother closed her eyes, rocking the child gently, even though her arms were weak. Then she felt it. A presence. Her head snapped up. Somewhere in the dark, something was watching. The trees were tall and silent, but she felt the weight of eyes on her. She pulled her baby tighter, her heart racing. "Who is there?" she whispered into the shadows. At first, there was no answer, only the sound of leaves moving with the wind. Then she saw it. Movement. A figure. Tall, broad-shouldered. Walking slowly, carefully. It was a human. Her chest filled with fear. Humans had destroyed her people's homes. Humans had taken everything. Many humans hated her kind, called them invaders and thieves. She had no reason to trust one. But she had no choice. The human stopped a few steps away. The moonlight touched his face. He looked tired, worn from life. But his eyes were sharp and alive. He looked down at the alien woman and the weak child in her arms. For a long moment they only stared at each other. Silence stretched between them, heavy and tense. The mother's lips trembled. Her pride told her not to speak, not to beg. But her baby's tiny cry broke through her pride like a knife. She lowered her head, tears falling onto the baby's blanket. "Human," she whispered. "My milk has dried up. My baby has not eaten for days. Please, not for me, but for my child." The words trembled in the air. They were heavy, filled with shame and hope at the same time. She pressed her forehead against her baby's head, waiting, fearing what the human might do. The man stood, still, his hands at his sides. His face was unreadable. He looked at the small bundle, at the baby's weak movements, and at the mother's desperate eyes. Something flickered in his expression, something like conflict. The night grew colder. The silence between them felt endless. The mother's heart pounded. She thought, maybe he would walk away. Maybe he would call soldiers. Maybe he would take her child and leave her to die. She was ready for any of it. But still, her voice came. "Out, fragile and breaking. Please, if there is any kindness left in your heart, save my baby." Her words hung in the dark like a final prayer. The baby gave another weak whimper, so soft it almost faded into the wind. The mother kissed her child's forehead, her tears falling on the small face. She closed her eyes, waiting for the human's answer, waiting for fate itself to decide. The man stepped forward, the sound of his boots crunching against dry leaves. He stopped just before her, His shadow fell over her and the child. His hand lifted slowly, uncertainly. The alien mother held. Her breath. The baby let out the faintest sound, half a cry, half a sigh. And then, the man's eyes softened. Just for a moment. The night air grew thick with tension. What would he do? Would he save the child? Or would he turn away and leave them to die? The forest held its breath. The stars above seemed to watch closely. The mother, shaking, whispered one last time. Human, I beg you. The man's shadow loomed over them, and his decision was just a heartbeat away. The desperate plea. The silence between them was heavy. The night carried only the sound of the baby's weak breathing. The alien mother looked up at the human, her knees pressed into the cold ground, her arms shaking as she held her child. The man's face was hidden half in shadow. His eyes moved slowly from the mother's pale face to the tiny bundle in her arms. He said nothing, and that silence was sharper than any blade. The mother's voice broke the stillness. Please, I have nothing left. My people are gone. My body is empty. My milk has dried. My child has not eaten for days. Her words trembled like glass about to shatter. She lowered her head, her pride falling like dust. She was no longer a warrior, no longer a survivor. She was only a mother, and her child was dying in her arms. The human shifted his weight, his boots grinding softly against the dirt. His hands tightened into fists. He had seen aliens before, on battlefields, in the ruins of villages. He remembered the voices of men in his town saying, "Never help them. They are the enemy." But the sight before him was no enemy. It was a starving woman with tears on her face. It was a child too weak to even cry loudly. His heart twisted, though his mind screamed to walk away. The mother looked up again, her eyes glowing faintly in the moonlight. Her voice cracked with desperation. "Do not help me, I do not matter, but help my baby, I beg you, human." Her words stabbed into him. For a moment he saw not an alien, but his own memory. His younger sister, sick in the winter when food was gone and fire was low. He remembered the fear of watching her cough, the helplessness of being unable to feed her. The baby gave a small whimper. Its tiny chest rose and fell weakly, too slow, too fragile. The mother gasped, clutching the child tighter. "No. No. Stay with me, little one. Please." Her voice cracked into sobs. She pressed her forehead against the baby's head, her tears soaking the blanket. The man looked away, his jaw tight. He wanted to leave. He wanted to tell himself it was not his problem, but his feet did not move. He heard the mother whisper again, so soft it almost faded into the night. "If there is any mercy left in this world, let it fall on my child." He closed his eyes. For a moment, the memory of his sister's fragile body haunted him again. A face pale, lips dry, eyes closing too soon. He had once sworn he would never watch another innocent fade away while he stood idle. When he opened his eyes, the alien woman was still kneeling, still begging with her silence. Her body shook as she held the baby out slightly toward him, not fully offering but showing that her plea was real. The man stepped forward. Slowly, carefully. The mother gasped and pulled the baby back to her chest, fear flashing across her face. She did not know his heart. For all she knew, he might take the child and end its life quickly. "Please," she whispered again, her voice breaking. "Please, not harm. Not harm. Just food. Just life." Her words stabbed at him harder than any blade. He knelt down, his face closer now. The mother's eyes were wet, shining with fear and hope. For the first time, he spoke. His voice was low, rough, almost harsh from being unused. "You ask me to feed your child. Do you know what that means? If my people see me helping you, I could be killed. They would call me a traitor. The mother nodded quickly, her tears dripping fast. Yes, I know, but still, I ask. Kill me if you must. But not my baby. Not this innocent life. Her words echoed in the dark, filled with desperate strength. The baby stirred weakly, a faint sound leaving its lips. The man stared at them, frozen. His heart pounded in his chest. He could feel the weight of the choice pressing on him. To walk away was easy. To help was dangerous. The silence stretched, again broken only by the baby's faint breathing. Then, he moved. His hand reached out. Slowly. He touched the edge of the basket where the baby lay wrapped. The mother stiffened, her body trembling, but she did not stop him. Her faith, her last faith, was placed in this human stranger. The man looked at the small face, pale and innocent. For the first time in many years, something inside him softened. He pulled his hand back, looked into the mother's eyes and spoke again. If I do this, if I help you, there is no turning back. The mother pressed her forehead to the baby once more, whispering like a prayer. Then let there be no turning back. Save my child, and I will owe you more than life itself. The man stood. His shadow stretched over them. His voice was quiet, almost carried away by the wind. Then follow me. But stay close. If we are seen, we are all dead. The mother's breath caught in her throat. Her body shook with relief and fear all at once. She pulled her baby closer, clutching it as though her soul lived only in that tiny chest. The man turned and began walking into the dark, his steps steady, his shoulders tense. The mother rose weakly, her legs shaking. She followed him, every step filled with both dread and hope. Behind them, the forest grew silent once more. The stars above watched as two different worlds began to walk together, one human, one alien, and one tiny child whose life now balanced on the edge of fate. And, somewhere hidden in the shadows, other eyes watched. They were not alone. The human's choice. The night air was cold as the human walked ahead, his boots pressing into the dirt path. The alien mother followed, clutching her baby tightly against her chest. Every step made her legs shake, but she forced herself forward. Her child's weak breathing was the only reason she had strength left. The man's shoulders were stiff, his movements tense. His mind was a storm. He had broken an unspoken law. He had chosen not to abandon them. Every villager, every soldier, every neighbor would call him a fool, a traitor. Yet still, he kept walking. The baby let out a soft whimper. The sound cut through the silence like a fragile bell. The mother bent down slightly, whispering to calm the child. Her voice was tired but filled with love. Shh, little one. We are not alone now. Stay with me. Stay with me. The human glanced back for a moment. His eyes caught hers, and for a heartbeat she saw something in his face. Not hatred, not anger, but something heavier. It was guilt. He remembered his past, a time when hunger had stolen too much from his family. He had once wished for someone, anyone, to step forward and save them. No one ever had. And now, fate had placed this fragile life in front of him. Could he turn away? He already knew the answer. Finally, they reached a broken stone hut at the edge of the forest. Its roof was crooked, its walls scarred by time. Smoke no longer rose from its chimney. It had been abandoned long ago. The man pushed the old wooden door open and motioned for her to enter. Inside, he said in a low voice. The alien mother stepped carefully, her bare feet silent against the rough ground. Inside, the hut smelled of dust and old wood. There was a small table, a few broken chairs, and a straw mat in the corner. It was not much, but to her it felt like shelter from the endless cold. The man set down a clay jug on the table. He opened it and poured a thick, white liquid into a wooden bowl. The smell was strong. Goat's milk. He looked at the child, then at the mother. Here, he said. It's not much, but it might keep the little one alive. The mother's eyes widened. Her trembling hands reached for the bowl, but she stopped halfway. She looked at him with uncertainty, her lips trembling. For us? For the child, he answered firmly. Her tears flowed again, silent but heavy. She dipped her finger into the milk and touched it gently to her baby's lips. At first, the child did not react. Its mouth barely opened. Fear gripped her heart. Maybe it was too late. Then, slowly the baby began to suck. Its tiny mouth moved, weak but steady, taking in drops of life. The mother gasped and covered her mouth, choking on sobs. Relief crashed through her like a storm. Thank you. Oh, stars, thank you. The man turned away, hiding his expression. He did not want her to see the conflict on his face. He had saved a life, yes, but he had also placed his own in danger. If anyone found out, there would be no mercy for him. The mother looked at him, her voice shaking. Why? Why would you help us when so many of your kind hate us? He did not answer right away. His hands gripped the edge of the table, his knuckles white. Finally he spoke, his voice low and heavy. Because once I knew what hunger was. I knew what it was like to pray for food that never came. I swore if I ever had the chance, I would not let another child suffer like that, human or alien. The mother's lips parted, but no words came. She could only bow her head in silence, her heart burning with gratitude and sorrow at the same time. But the moment of peace did not last. Outside, the crunch of boots broke the quiet, more than one set. Voices carried through the night, rough and sharp. The man's body stiffened. He rushed to the window and peered out. Torches moved between the trees. Soldiers. His heart dropped. They were searching. He turned quickly to the mother. Hide, now! She froze, clutching her baby tighter. Fear consumed her eyes. They will kill us. He grabbed the straw mat in the corner and pulled it aside, revealing a trap door. Get inside, don't make a sound. The mother nodded quickly, her breath fast and uneven. She climbed down into the hidden space, holding her baby close. The trap door shut above her just as the sound of fists pounded against the hut door. The man wiped the sweat from his brow and opened it. Two soldiers stood outside, their armor dark, their eyes cold. One held a torch, its fire painting the hut in harsh light. We're searching the area, one soldier said. There are reports of an alien fugitive with a child. Have you seen anything? The man's heart thundered in his chest. His throat felt dry. He forced his voice steady. No, just me. Haven't seen anything unusual. The soldier narrowed his eyes, scanning the hut. His gaze lingered on the jug of milk, the bowl on the table. Suspicion flickered in his expression. The man's fists clenched at his sides. One wrong word, one wrong glance, and everything would end. The soldier stepped inside, his boots thudding against the floor. The torchlight revealed every shadow, every corner. He moved toward the table, his eyes sharp. The mother, hidden beneath the floor, pressed her hand against her baby's mouth, praying the child would not make a sound. Her body shook, her breath held tight in her chest. The soldier's hand reached out, toward the bowl of milk. The man's heart stopped. The choice he had made now stood on the edge of discovery. The hidden shelter, the soldier's hand hovered over the wooden bowl, his eyes narrowing at the faint smell of goat's milk. The human, standing beside the table, kept his face steady, though his heart pounded like a drum. It's strange, the soldier muttered. Milk at this hour? And for who? The human forced a dry laugh. For me? Can a man drink at night? The soldier turned his sharp gaze on him. For a long, painful moment, silence hung between them. Then the other soldier outside called out, Leave it. We still have more ground to cover. Reluctantly, the torchbearer lowered his hand. He gave the human one last suspicious look before stepping back toward the door. If you see anything, or anyone, you report it. Hiding aliens is punishable by death, remember that. The human nodded stiffly. I know. The soldiers left, their boots fading into the night, their voices swallowed by the forest. Only then did the human breathe again. He dropped to one knee and pulled the trapdoor open. Inside, the alien mother was crouched in the darkness, her arms wrapped tightly around her baby. Her eyes were wide, her face pale with fear. The child had stayed silent, as if even it knew death was close. "You can come out," the man whispered. "They're gone. For now." The mother climbed out slowly, her legs shaking. She pressed, her forehead to the floor, whispering, "Thank you. Thank you, human." The man shook his head. "Don't thank me. We're not safe yet." He pushed the table back over the trapdoor and walked to the window, watching the flicker of torches vanish into the trees. His voice was grim. "They'll keep searching. They won't stop until they find you. This place isn't safe anymore." The mother looked down at her baby, who had fallen into a weak but peaceful sleep after its first drops of milk. Her tears fell onto the child's blanket. "If not here, then where? We have nowhere else." The man clenched his jaw. His mind raced. Helping her once had been dangerous. Continuing to help her was madness. Yet when he looked at the small child in her arms, his heart hardened with resolve. "There's another place," he said finally. "Deep in the forest where the soldiers don't go. An old shelter hidden underground, but the path is dangerous." The mother's voice trembled. "Danger is already with us. Lead the way. I will follow." The man nodded once. He packed a small bundle, the jug of milk, some dried bread, a knife, and a lantern. Then he motioned for her to stay close. They slipped into the night, moving quietly through the trees. The forest loomed around them, full of shadows and whispers. Every snapping branch made the mother flinch. Every rustling leaf felt like an enemy waiting. The man walked ahead, his steps steady, his eyes sharp. He knew the paths, the shortcuts, the hidden trails. He had survived these woods many times before. But this time, he was not alone. This time, he carried a secret that could kill them all. The baby stirred in the mother's arms, letting out a faint cry. She quickly rocked it gently, whispering soothing words. But the sound, small as it was, felt too loud in the silent night. The man froze, raising a hand. He listened. Far away, the faint echo of voices. Soldiers again. They were sweeping the forest. "Move," he whispered. "Quickly." They rushed forward, weaving between trees, stepping over roots and stones. The lantern flickered faintly, casting long, dancing shadows. The mother's breath came fast, her arms aching from holding the child, but she did not stop. Finally, the man stopped at a large mound of earth covered with vines and moss. It looked like nothing more than part of the forest floor. He pushed aside the vines, revealing a wooden door set into the ground. He pulled it open, and a cool draft of air rose from the darkness below. "Inside," he ordered softly. The mother hesitated, clutching her child. The hole looked dark, almost like a grave, but she had no choice. With careful steps, she descended the ladder, her baby pressed tightly against her chest. The man followed, pulling the door shut above them. Darkness swallowed them whole until he lit the lantern again. The shelter was small but strong. Wooden beams supported the low ceiling. Old supplies, tools, jars, blankets lined the shelves. The air smelled of earth and stone, but it was safe. Hidden. The mother sank to the ground, tears running down her face. She kissed her baby's forehead, whispering, "You are safe now, little one." Safe. The man set the jug of milk on the ground and sat against the wall, breathing heavily. "Don't be too sure," he muttered. "The soldiers won't stop. They'll search every hut, every cave, every shadow. If they even suspect, they'll burn the forest to the ground." The mother looked at him with wide, frightened eyes. "Then why help us? Why risk your life for us?" He stared into the lantern flame, his expression unreadable. "Because sometimes, a man has to choose between fear and what is right. And I'm tired of living in fear." His words hung in the dim air, heavy and sharp. The baby stirred again, letting out a soft, tired sigh. The mother smiled faintly through her tears, rocking it gently. For the first time in days, hope flickered in her heart. But outside, the world was still hunting them. The sound of distant horns echoed faintly through the forest, carried by the wind. The human's eyes hardened as he listened. They're closing in. This shelter will not hide us forever. The mother clutched her child tighter, her voice breaking. Then where do we go? The man rose to his feet, his shadow tall on the wall. We run. And if we cannot run, we fight. The lantern flickered, throwing wild light across the shelter. And above them, in the night forest, the hunters drew nearer. Asterisk. The hunters arrive. The forest was no longer silent. From above the hidden shelter, faint sounds of boots crushed, dry leaves. Voices carried through the night, low, sharp, filled with authority. Torches lit the darkness, moving like fiery eyes among the trees. The hunters had arrived. Inside the shelter, the air was heavy. The mother pressed her back to the wall, her arms wrapped tightly around her child. The baby stirred, letting out a soft whimper. She quickly rocked it, whispering, "Shh, please, little one, stay quiet." The human stood near the ladder, his hand gripping the wooden handle of his knife. His jaw was tight, his breath steady but shallow. He had expected the soldiers to come, but not this soon. Above, a voice called out, "Check every corner. She must be hiding near. No alien will escape tonight." Another voice answered, "What about this mound? Looks suspicious." The man's heart clenched. He motioned sharply to the mother, pressing a finger to his lips. She nodded, her wide, glowing eyes filled with fear. Her baby squirmed in her arms, its tiny mouth opening for a cry. She pressed her trembling hand gently over its lips, praying. Boots thudded directly above them. The sound of steel scraping against wood followed. Soldiers were stabbing the ground with spears, checking for hollow spaces. The mother's body shook violently. Every sound of the spear striking earth felt like death knocking on the door. Then, silence. The man held his breath, listening. The soldiers' voices were close, just a few steps away. One of them muttered, "This mound feels odd." Another scoffed, "It's just dirt and roots. We waste time. Move." The first voice hesitated, then finally stepped away. The human let out a quiet breath of relief, but he knew they weren't safe. Not yet. Soldiers never gave up easily. They would circle back. They would search again. Hours passed like years. The torches above slowly drifted farther. But faint voices still echoed through the trees. The baby finally fell asleep, its tiny chest rising and falling against the mother's arms. Tears streaked her face as she whispered into the child's ear, "You are still here. You are still alive." The man paced in the dim light, his steps slow and controlled. His mind raced. This shelter would not hold forever. Once the soldiers decided to burn the forest, the hidden place would become a tomb. He stopped suddenly, turning toward the mother. "We can't stay here. At dawn we move." Her eyes widened. "But where? There is nowhere safe for us." "There, as always somewhere," he said firmly, "and I'll find it. But staying means death." The mother lowered her head, her tears dripping onto her child's blanket. She wanted to believe him, but her heart trembled with doubt. Suddenly, a sound shattered the moment. The sharp bark of dogs. The mother's blood froze. Her people had spoken of these beasts, the soldiers hunting dogs. They could smell what humans could not. No shelter was deep enough to hide from them. The man's expression darkened. He rushed to the trapdoor ladder and blew out the lantern, plunging them into darkness. "Quiet," he whispered sharply. Above, the dogs barked louder. Their paws scratched the earth. Soldiers shouted, "Over here! They're close!" The mother clutched her baby tighter, rocking it desperately. "Please, please, not now," she whispered, begging her child to remain silent. The baby stirred. its tiny lips opening. A faint cry slipped into the darkness. The mother's heart shattered. Above. The barking grew wild. Soldiers rushed closer, their boots pounding the ground. They're here, below the mound. The man's hand gripped the hilt of his knife. He turned to the mother, his voice low but fierce. Hold your child. Do not make a sound. Whatever happens, I will not let them take you. Her glowing eyes widened with terror. But, trust me, he said, cutting her off. The trapdoor above rattled. Soldiers struck it with spears, wood cracking under the blows. The baby let out another cry. The mother sobbed silently, pressing her forehead against her child, whispering prayers to stars that no longer listened. The man stood tall in the darkness, his blade gleaming faintly. He was only one man against many, but his eyes burned with something stronger than fear. The trapdoor split, wood shattering into the shelter below. A soldier's torch thrust downward, its fire lighting up the cramped space. The mother gasped, clutching her baby tight. The child cried louder, its voice fragile but piercing in the silence. The soldier's face twisted into a cruel smile. Found you. The human stepped forward, placing himself between the soldier and the mother. His knife glinted in the firelight. Not while I'm standing, he growled. The soldier sneered, lowering his spear. One man against us, you'll die first. But the human's stance did not waver. His decision had already been made long ago, back in the forest, when he first heard the baby's cry. He would fight, even if death was certain. The baby's cries filled the shelter. The mother's tears fell like rivers. The soldiers raised their weapons. And in that small, hidden place beneath the earth, the night erupted with danger. The price of protection. The torchlight burned inside the shelter, throwing cruel shadows across the walls. The soldiers' eyes gleamed with triumph as they looked down at their prey. The alien mother clutched her baby so tightly her knuckles turned white. The child cried weakly, its small voice swallowed by the roar of fear in her chest. She pressed, her lips against the baby's head, whispering broken words. Please, stars, protect us, please. But it was not the stars who answered. It was the human. He stepped forward, his body tall, his knife catching the torchlight. His voice was rough but steady. If you want them, you'll have to go through me. The soldiers laughed. One sneered. A farmer with a knife? You think you can stand against trained men? The man did not answer. His silence was harder than words. The first soldier lunged down through the broken trapdoor, his spear thrusting forward. The human moved fast, quicker than the soldier expected. He knocked the spear aside and slashed upward. The blade bit into the man's arm, making him drop his weapon with a cry. The second soldier cursed and leapt down into the shelter. The small underground room erupted into chaos. Steel against steel, grunts, the hiss of burning torch fire. The mother held her child against the wall, her body shaking. She wanted to close her eyes, but she could not. She watched every desperate movement, every strike of the human who had chosen to protect her. The human fought like a man who had nothing to lose. His blade flashed, his fist struck, his boots slammed into the dirt floor. He was outnumbered, but he refused to step back. A spear tip grazed his side, tearing his shirt and skin. Blood spread across the fabric. He hissed, but did not fall. Another soldier swung at him, but he ducked and drove his knife deep into the man's leg. The soldier screamed, collapsing. The mother gasped, her tears falling faster. Why? Why would you risk this? She whispered. The man heard her voice, though he did not look back. Because a child should not die for war. Another soldier dropped into the shelter, then another. The room filled with danger, torches waving wildly. Smoke stung the air. The baby cried louder, the sound piercing the madness. One soldier pointed his blade toward the mother. Take the alien brat! The human's rage exploded. He charged, tackling the soldier before the man could move another step. They crashed into the wooden beams, the knife flashing again and again. But the cost was heavy. A spear plunged into his shoulder. He staggered, blood pouring from the wound. The pain was blinding, but he pushed forward, ripping the weapon free and throwing it aside. The mother screamed his name, though she did not even know it. Human, no. He turned his head just long enough to see her face. Fearful, desperate, but alive. That was enough. He stood again, his stance firm, though his body swayed with exhaustion. The soldiers hesitated. His eyes burned like fire, his blood staining the ground. Yet he still stood. One of them growled. Why? Why protect them? They are not your kind. The man's voice was hoarse but strong. Because mercy is not bound by blood. His words rang in the air, louder than the baby's cries, louder than the clash of weapons. For a brief moment, even the soldiers seemed shaken. But only for a moment. Kill him, one barked. They rushed him again. The fight was brutal, endless. Every strike took more of his strength. Every wound drained more of his life. Yet still, he did not fall. He blocked, slashed, and struck, his body a shield between the soldiers and the mothers. Corner of the shelter. The alien mother pressed her baby to her chest, sobbing silently. Her heart broke watching him bleed for her child. She wanted to beg him to stop, to save himself, but she knew he would not listen. His choice had already been made. At last, the soldiers stumbled back, bruised and bloodied. Two lay groaning on the floor, unable to stand. The others hesitated, breathing hard, glaring at the human who refused to fall. One spat on the ground. He's not worth it. The child is too weak to live anyway. Let them die here in the dark. With curses and threats, the soldiers retreated. Their boots pounded up the ladder, their voices fading into the night. The barking dogs pulled away, their howls echoing into silence. The fight was over. The man dropped to his knees, blood dripping onto the dirt. His knife clattered from his hand. He pressed one arm against his wound, his breath ragged. The mother crawled to him, still holding her baby close. Tears ran down her face as she whispered, "You saved us, at the cost of yourself." He shook his head weakly. "Not yet. You must go. They will return." Her hands trembled as she tried to stop his bleeding with scraps of cloth. "You'll die if you move. I'll die if I stay," he whispered. His eyes met hers, fierce even in pain. "And so will you. You have to keep moving. For the child." Her heart ached. She wanted to protest, to beg him not to push himself further. But the baby stirred weakly in her arms, reminding her of the truth. The man forced himself to his feet, swaying but unbroken. His voice was harsh, filled with steel. "The price of protection is blood. Mine is given. But your child must live." The mother sobbed, holding her child close. Her tears were not only for her baby anymore. They were also for the human who had chosen to bleed for them. Above, the night grew quiet once more. But the silence carried no peace. It was only the stillness before the storm to come. The choice that changed everything. The shelter was heavy with silence after the battle. Blood stained the dirt floor, the torchlight gone, leaving only the faint glow of the lantern the man had relit. The human leaned against the wall, his shoulder wrapped in a torn cloth, every breath sharp with pain. The alien mother sat close, cradling her baby. The child slept weakly, its tiny chest rising and falling in fragile rhythm. She stroked its face with trembling fingers, whispering softly, as though her voice alone could keep it alive. For a long time, neither spoke. The weight of what had just happened pressed down on both of them. At last, the man broke the silence. His voice was hoarse. "They'll be back. Next time they won't leave so easily." The mother raised her head, her glowing eyes full of fear. "Then where can we go? Every place we touch is death waiting for us." The man looked at her, then at the baby. His jaw tightened. "There is one way, but it will cost everything." Her heart pounded. "What do you mean?" He pushed himself up slowly, wincing from the wound in his shoulder. His shadow stretched across the wall. "I know a place where soldiers do not go. Far beyond the forest, across the river, there are caves. Old, deep, hidden. They could protect you, but getting there. His eyes darkened. Getting there will not be easy. The mother looked down at her child, who shifted weakly in her arms. The thought of more danger filled her with dread, but the thought of staying, waiting for soldiers to return, filled her with something worse. Certain death. "I will go," she whispered firmly. "For my child I will walk through fire itself." The man nodded slowly. He gathered his few supplies, milk, bread, the blood-stained knife, and tucked them into a small sack. His movements were stiff, every step laced with pain, but his will was unbroken. At dawn, they left the shelter. The forest was quiet, heavy with mist. Birds did not sing. Every tree looked like it was listening. The mother walked behind him, holding her baby close beneath her cloak. The human steps were steady but slow, his wound slowing him. Still, he moved forward, never once looking back. Hours passed. The river came into view, wide and restless, its waters shining with the pale light of morning. The current was fast, angry, carrying broken branches and foam. The mother gasped. "How can we cross? The water will take us." The man stared at the river. His face was grim. "There is only one way. I'll carry you across." Her eyes widened. "You're wounded. You'll drown." "Then I'll drown," he answered coldly. "But you and the child must reach the other side." Her heart cracked at his words. She shook her head, tears rising. "No, you've already given too much. You bled for us. You fought for us. You don't have to give your life too." He looked at her then, his eyes deep, burning with a fire she could not understand. "I do, because this child carries hope, and hope is worth any price." The baby whimpered softly as if hearing his words. The mother sobbed, clutching the child tighter. Without another word, the man stepped into the river. The icy water rushed around his legs, pulling, dragging. He reached back, motioning for her. "Come," he said. Her feet trembled, but she followed, trusting him. The water rose to their waists, then to their chests. The baby cried, frightened by the cold, but the mother held it high above the rushing current. The man's wound burned, his body weakening. The water fought to drag him under, but he pushed forward, his teeth clenched, his muscles straining. Each step was a war. Halfway across, the river struck harder, nearly sweeping them away. The mother screamed, clutching her baby. "We'll die here." "No." The man roared, his voice shaking with fury. "Not while I stand." He pushed forward with all his strength. Every breath was agony, every movement pain, but he kept going. The other side drew closer, the rocks rising from the bank like salvation. Finally, with a last desperate step, they reached solid ground. The mother collapsed onto the shore, sobbing, her baby safe in her arms. She kissed the child's face again and again, whispering, "You are alive. You are alive." The man fell to his knees, his body shaking violently. Blood stained the river where he had stood. He leaned on his knife for balance, his breath shallow. The mother crawled to him, tears blinding her. "Stay with us, please. You can't leave now." He looked at her, his eyes heavy but calm. "I told you. The price of protection is blood. Mine has been given. But the child lives." "That is enough." She grabbed his hand, squeezing it tight, her tears falling onto his skin. "No, not enough. You saved us. You gave us hope. That cannot end here." The baby stirred weakly, its small hand brushing against the man's arm. He looked at the child, and for the first time, a faint smile touched his lips. "Then maybe," he whispered, "it was worth it." The sun broke through the mist, light spilling across the forest, the river, and the broken man who had chosen mercy over fear. The mother held him, her voice trembling with both sorrow and gratitude. "Human, you saved not just my baby. You saved me." And so, in a world filled with hatred and war, one human's kindness burned brighter than any weapon. A single choice, born from mercy, had changed everything. For the child now carried not only life but the memory of a man who had bled so that hope could survive.